The Epic Dash event is going to be here for pretty much a whole 2 months, and this is an amazing time to burn through all of your leaves. Not just the leaves that you're sitting on, but we're getting a ton of leaves during this event. We have 2 every single day from the Epic Dash. The Epic Dash Pass gives 5 every single day. Some of these weeks, I know, have like leaves somewhere in here sometimes, as well as we get like 1 additional from the weekly missions. But the Lucky Dash, more importantly, gives you so much speed sight gear. It's going to be high equipment score at base, plus with guaranteed good substat synergy, and with good main stats on the right side pieces. So really, really efficient time to be spending energy because of all the free stuff and all the bonuses you're getting. We're also going to have buffs, of course. We have buff 1, which has some buffs here, and there's also going to be more buffs. A part 2 buff that happens during the course of the event at specific times. So it's going to be going over the best times to spend your energy when the buffs are going to be active, plus some other stuff, as well as what you should be farming, both when the part 2 buffs are active and when they are not active and it's just the buff 1. The first things first, let's take a look at the part 2 buffs when it's happening. Every single week, every single weekend, you will have a part 2 buff. One thing that I've seen people get confused about is there happens to be exactly 8 things that are increased here, as well as 8 weeks. It's not split week by week. That would be honestly pretty bad. Every single week will have every single effect listed here in part 2. So for example, week 3 will have the 20% hunt, 20% catalyst, all the EXP, the gold, all the gear boosts, everything. In terms of keeping track of these part 2 buffs, there's the buff event schedule calendar here. You can find this on the Stove Post. Download it for yourself if you want. Additionally, if you would like it in your local time, first off on Cecilia Bot, you can see it here. The white line is the current time in your local time, and then this is listing when the buffs are going to be active. It has a little countdown for you. You know, when the line crosses into the colored field, that's when it starts. It's a pretty good visual way to keep track of it, and it'll show every single thing. The text does dangle a little bit because this was not really designed for stuff that is so short in duration. Aside from that, in Discord, in my Discord, in the official E7 Discord, we will have pins showing like when the buffs are going to be active, and I'll also I'll drop the whole texting for this in the comments. You can copy paste it into your own Discords, your guild Discord, whatever you want, and have that pin so people can see when the buffs are going to be active. So now that we have timings, we can take a look at exactly what is happening during the buffs. So we have the part 1 buff that gives you 50% hunt, 50% catalyst, 2x runes, ogre stuff, and then 10% for rift, otherworldly hunt, and otherworldly breach. The part 2 buffs stack on top of the part 1 buffs, so this becomes 20% plus 50, 70% hunt equipment craft material, 70% catalyst point drop boost. You have 30% for battle EXP, account EXP, and gold, and then 20% on top of 10 for 30% rift, and then 20% total otherworldly hunt and otherworldly breach equipment drop rate increase. One thing worth mentioning specifically for these gear drop rate increases is the way it works is it boosts the chance of getting one specific gear. And some of these, like, well, all of the contents don't just drop 1 gear. Rift drops 2, Otherworld drops 6. So a 30 or 20% boost to Otherworldly with a base of 6 only ends up being a 3% increase. This is assuming you have like a maxed out pet. I don't actually, this isn't even 10. That's not 15, this is 10. With a maxed out pet, it's 3.27. And then the part 1 bonus is 10%. You see it's 1.64. For Rift, if you have a maxed out pet, it's 4.76. And then during the part 2 where it's 30%, it's 14.29. So you can see it gets worse and worse the larger the base is. You know, gear is still gear. I think it's still something that's very nice to have. It's just if you're somebody who's, you know, like lacking time, you got too many leaves or you got IRL stuff, then just farm during the part 1 buffs. It's not that big of a deal specifically for Otherworld. In general, though, I would still try to farm during part 2 if you are able to because of the 30% gold increase. Gold is gold. You're going to just generally want to have a lot of it, and I'm not going to pass up the gold increase for free. On the topic of gear farming, one more thing, this is kind of like min-maxy, but one more thing that might factor in to how you want to time your farming is Shadow Company, because Expedition is in a kind of weird spot right now where it's technically less efficient to farm, like dump a bunch of leaves into Otherworld when Expedition's not here, because you won't be getting posters, you're going to be losing out on mod gems. This assumes that you're even willing to do the posters in the first place. A lot of people are kind of too lazy and don't care, which is perfectly understandable. It does take quite a while to do the expeditions. But if you are somebody who does do your expeditions or really needs mod gems, you might want to consider holding out your lease for another 2 weeks. Expedition should hopefully be coming back in 2 weeks, and you can dump all of your leaves then instead. I am on the fence about waiting for it. I might wait, to be honest. But that is like, it's kind of minor, but if just a mod gem thing, substat mod gem thing. And then besides that, you'll notice that there's the 2x rune drop rate increase in the part 1 buffs. This makes it so that when the part 2 buffs are not active and it's just part 1, really, really good time to farm runes, because you will have the double rune drop, which is like the maximum drop. If you have scrolls in your inventory, you can like use up your rune scrolls pretty much. And then you can also, like, the only thing you'll lose out on is 30% gold increase, which isn't really a huge deal, because you were going to want to maximize your part 2 buffs, like farming other stuff anyways, whether you're farming like gear, or you're farming a gear EXP, or like the stigma for more gold on top of the gold increase, that sort of thing, or you're farming like actual gear. This just makes it so if you need runes, the best time to do it is during part 1. Now for part 2, you can either, like, there's really only 2 options. You farm gear from Rift or Otherworldly Hunt or Otherworldly Breach, or you farm for Stigma. The Stigma farming is just going to be like Episode or Eulogy. Notably, the Lucky Dash is going to give you a ton of gear, so you might end up needing to go farm charms at some point, depending on how many leaves you're dumping. That is a certain consideration to have. Additionally, for like gear farming stuff, so Lucky Dash is giving you a ton of gear, but literally all of it is speed set gear. It's only going to be speed set gear, so if you are a newer player or a returning player and your gear base isn't super set yet, I would actually kind of avoid farming Wyvern, because then you're going to end up with literally nothing but speed set gear, especially for new players. I think you want a wider gear, or like a wider pool of gear. So farming Banshee in that case can be useful. You can get Destruction plus Counter sets. Counter is like a bit more niche for specific units. Destruction is pretty widely used. Golem gets you Protection set for certain units, and then HP and Defense set, which is mainly for like non-RTA stuff. In RTA you want Immunity set, but Immunity as a Manic is awful to farm. Please don't farm this. Cadiz is also like kind of hard to farm, because Pen set and Torrent set are used. It's just Torrent set's only really used on DPS for the most part. Like a few bruisers use it. And then Penetration set is only like DPS bruisers use this pretty much. But yeah, if you're like an established account, and I generally don't recommend people to farm Otherworldly Hunt in general unless they're in this account state, and all you really care about is getting faster, you don't care about like expanding like the rest of your gear, then sure, farm Wyvern. Let's double dip our speed set farming basically. But yeah, in general, I think it's better to farm other stuff. Rift is still fine for farming gear, honestly. Some sets can only be obtained here, the previous sets from the breaches. It is in kind of a weird spot right now. Like, I don't even care that much about the otherworldly gear. It just takes too long. Otherworldly takes a 160 energy per entry. Rift takes 40, so it's 4 times as long, just, you know, off of energy cost alone. And then actually doing the run, like, this is like, I think it's, the fastest this gets is like close to 2.5 minutes. Otherworldly hunts can be done in like 30 seconds to a minute. So it takes anywhere from like 10 to 20 times as long to get through your energy / leaves doing Rift over otherworldly stuff. So that is a little bit annoying, but Rift, you can spend natural energy here. You do have a cap on how much you can spend in terms of you have a cap in terms of how much energy you can spend on cores. The rest has to be through leaves. So you could consider like spending your natural energy on Rift, and then like your leaves on otherworldly, or like the charm situation that I mentioned, you might want to spend all your natural energy on farming eulogy or episode for all of the charms and gold, and then you spend your leaves on, of course, otherworldly breach or otherworldly hunt. So that is pretty much going over everything about the epic dash buffs and stuff. This is quite a long event. You're going to want to like make sure to maximize your your efficiency during this. You're going to be getting a lot of leaves. Even if you don't have a lot of leaves right now, you'll be getting so many leaves just from the epic dash stuff itself. And good luck with your farming.